So let's talk about the iPhone Air and my thoughts about the whole thing or whatnot. No, I don't have it in my hands. Yes, I watched the event and I looked at some specs, and I'm just going based off of what I'm seeing here. Could the iPhone Air work? It could work, but it could also not work. The way that I could see it working is, let's say it's a new enough product, it's a thin device, and maybe there's a market out there for people who want thin devices and they want to pay $1,000 for a phone. Apple has pretty much conditioned us to the $1,000 premium version of the phone, and it's being advertised as such, as a premium device. A lot of the marketing materials and the way it looks and all that stuff is just like, hey, like expect to pay money for this thing. Although I will say I expected this thing to come out at $1,100. It's coming in at $1,000, which beats my expectations. But I would also have to include the fact that Apple is going to market this along with the accessory, the MagSafe battery that you attach to the back, and that is going to push the cost closer to the $1,100 mark. So that's just that part right there. But I guess if enough people buy this thing and they're really interested in it, Apple will keep it around and it could be a quote unquote success. I think the innovation part, the one thing that people always talk about, is the fact that the way they redesigned or made this phone to where the components are more up towards the camera area and they can fit like a larger battery in it, even though it's like really super thin, is, kind of like the plus side of this, right? Like that's where we can kind of look at it. The other thing that would be like, I guess, like well, they really didn't innovate that much, is the fact that they just made it thin. And that's really the allure of this phone. So it's like, it's the pro of the phone, but it's also could be the con depending on how, people want to like frame their arguments or whatnot. When I kind of look at this phone, I do get the fact that, premium price, but it's like a weird in between phone, right? So the iPhone 17 is already good because, you got the, Pro Motion upgrade and the screen that's basically, the same Pro screen as you get on everything else. And then, you got the upgrades to where the 17 is a good bang for the buck base model phone. 256 gigs of storage. Honestly, that's great for an iPhone when we were all complaining about, 128 being the base and all of that stuff. Then you look at the Pro Series, and we all know like the Pro Series, that's like for people that, want something even more premium, or they want more cameras, they want to do more this or do more that. And that's what that phone is geared towards. The Air is a somewhat better version of the 17, but has some compromises with that price. So that's where it's just like, I don't know if that's really going to work out. And now that I think about it, kind of going back to the whole, how did we get here? If you go back and you look at, let's say, the mini series, and I think the mini series was introduced around the iPhone 12 mini. Yeah. So you had the 12 mini and you had the 13 mini. So you had like those two phones, and they were small, right? They were smaller than the base model phone. But for whatever reason, according to the reports, Apple said it failed, or the report said it failed, or it didn't sell as much as it did, even though it seemed like a lot of people were kind of cool with having a mini phone. So then they go from a lower cost mini phone that costs less than the base model of that phone, the 12 and the 13 at that time. They go to the Plus model. So they bring back the Plus series. Now you have the iPhone 14 Plus, the 15 Plus, the 16 Plus. But then they go ahead and they cancel the 16 Plus because, once again, we're talking about, well, it failed, it didn't do so well, and yada, yada, such and such about the sales or whatnot. But the Plus was a phone that costs more than the base model iPhone. So you had a cheaper model of the base model iPhone fail. You had a more expensive model of the base model iPhone fail. It was replaced. It was axed. Now we have the Air, which, like I said before, it is more expensive. So Apple is throwing we're getting more and more premium, but we're getting more and more expensive. And to be honest, the Air technically, in my opinion, isn't a part of the 17 lineup because it's called the Air. They didn't call this the iPhone 17 Air. They just said, hey, here's the iPhone 17, here's the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, and here's the Air. So it's kind of like its own thing. So I guess my way of judging whether or not this thing is a hit or success or whatnot is if it makes it past the 4 year mark, because the mini only made it 2 years, the plus made it 3 years. If this can make it 4 years, I will call it a success. The thing that I would hate to see is Apple get 2 years into this, or people get used to this form factor, and then once again they're just like, all right, well, let's cut this off and let's try something completely different. Or let's say we get 3 years down the line and you just have the iPhone 20, iPhone 20 Pro, and Pro Max. So that's kind of where I see everything going with the Air. I'm more interested in seeing where regular people get their hands on this. I'm more interested in going to the store and seeing this. I am not pre-ordering it. I want to see it with my own eyes first, and I want to see what the actual real life performance is. My other concern about this phone, and this is just me as a creator, YouTuber, or whatnot, is the one lens, like single lens, whatnot. Now I know Apple got on stage and they're like, yeah, you can, have two zooms. You can have, one be at 48 megapixels and the other one's gonna either crop in or zoom in or whatever, and it's gonna do its Apple magic. But it's just a really hard sell for me to go from, okay, you got the 17 base model with two cameras, and you got the iPhone Air with one physical camera, and then you go all the way to the Pro, and then you got the three cameras back again. So I don't know. Part of my brain is just like, maybe Apple should have done the two cameras thing. Maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. I guess we'll see how this thing really turns out. But that's basically where I'm at with the Air. I don't hate it, but I don't see it succeeding the way that I guess they're hoping it will. Now, I'm not saying that Apple shouldn't try brand new things, but it just doesn't, it's not really adding up for me. So let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? And I'll see you guys in the next video.